You can put up when I'm sure that we are live. Okay, we're live. You can put it up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. And today we are live. So this is our Valentine's Day special. You can ask questions live. But before I get into that, I guess I should introduce the show. So this is Frog Questions. Frog Questions is a weekly show where we read and discuss questions submitted by you all about life, the universe, or anything else that might come up because you all ask weird questions. My name is Ben Mursky, and today I'm joined by my wife, Jen Mursky.
Hello.
A lot of you recently heard the story of how Jen and I met and then started dating. And I was telling that story to a lot of you recently, and there were a lot of questions that were raised, specifically questions a lot of you wanted to ask Jen if you had the chance. I also recently did a podcast with the Catholic babe, Caitlin Salvino, about soulmates. And one of the questions that came up near the end of that podcast was, how do you know if this is the one? That was actually the question that prompted the whole podcast. And then near the end, we were trying to answer this question. And so for our Valentine's Day special today, I thought, who would be a better guest than my wife? She and I are married. So Jen hopefully will be able to give us some insight into her experience and what dating is like for her from her perspective. Today is not Valentine's Day, believe it or not. Today is February 13th. And Jen, how much do you know about Valentine's Day as a religious holiday?
I know there is a Saint Valentine from which the celebratory day stems from.
Mm-hmm.
And where the candy and the hearts came in, I don't really know. Maybe he was a martyr. Was he a martyr?
He was a martyr.
And did something happen to his heart?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Eventually
it stopped beating because that's what makes a martyr. But
fair.
I don't know where the hearts come from on Valentine's Day otherwise.
So St. Valentine was a martyr. He died. So the church actually used to celebrate Valentine's Day like hardcore. Like there was it was an official day and everything. Over time, they started scaling back the celebration of Valentine's Day because there were conflicting reports about what he actually did and when he died. And I actually thought there was a question as to whether he even existed. After doing research, I've confirmed he did exist. We know he existed.
Okay.
The controversy was over whether he was executed in 298 or like 270 or 280, which doesn't really sound that big a deal
plus
to me.
Minus 30 years?
We don't even, not even. It's like plus minus 5 years. He was executed in the Roman Empire for providing marriages to young Christian couples, so like Christian
That's
marriages.
Right. Okay.
And there's a lot of stories about him. One of the stories, we don't know if this is true, but from prison, he wrote a letter to the last person he wrote a letter to before he was executed. He signed it, "Your Valentine," and that's where the "Be My Valentine" tradition came from.
Okay.
So there's some specific and important questions I want to ask you, Jen. But before we get into that, I thought it would be good just to introduce those of you who are tuning in live. Feel free to ask questions while we're doing this. Anything you want to ask Jen, you can. I reserve the right to veto questions, but you can certainly ask. We're streaming live on YouTube and Instagram, so however you'd like to ask, you can. And early on here, if you want to let us know if we're blurry or if our sign is backwards, we know, sorry. And or if the sound quality isn't good, please let us know. Did you want to say something?
How are we going to know if they're asking questions?
Oh, we'll know. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
It's here behind this nice sign. It's actually compiling the questions for us. So.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have to worry about it. But before we get started, Jen.
Yes.
I thought we should really get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, geez.
And so I thought on the eve of St. Valentine's Day, what better way could we get to know you than through a little bit of rom-com trivia?
Oh, I'm game.
So I have some quotes here.
Okay.
So I want you to do two things. I'm going to read a quote.
Mm-hmm.
You can play along at home if you'd like. though I will not be able to confirm whether you're right or wrong. You'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to read a quote for you, and this is from a romantic. Actually, these aren't all comedies, but they're all romance movies.
Okay.
I'm going to read a quote from you from a romance movie. I'd like you to do two things. Number one, see if you can name the movie.
Okay.
And then number two, I'd like you to give it a rating of thumbs up or thumbs down if you approve of the quote. If you think it's like, this is a quote that actually reflects what you see as like genuine love.
Oh, okay.
Fair? Understand the rules?
Yes, I understand
Ready?
the rules. Uh-huh.
Okay, quote number one. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. That was a hard one. I was starting with a hard one.
But I know it. I could have finished the quote for you.
The greatest, I'll read it. Yeah, I'll read it only twice. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and to be loved in return.
Oh, I know. You had, the problem was I needed you to kind of say it in an accent, also wearing like a guitar costume while falling from the ceiling.
Sure.
Because it is from Moulin Rouge.
It is Moulin Rouge. I need a bell. Do we have a bell?
We have a lot of instruments on the wall.
Oh, that's true. But no bell. It's fine.
But no bell.
Okay. No. So ding, ding, ding. Moulin Rouge is correct. Thumbs up or thumbs down for a rating. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
I would give that a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Two dings. Okay. Quote number two. Have courage and be kind.
Oh, of course, thumbs up. And that is from the new Cinderella, which he knows I'm a little bit obsessed with.
Yeah, I knew you'd get that one correct. Ding, 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 correct. Okay, quote number three. To me, you are perfect. It's the short ones that get you because there's not enough context.
Yeah.
To me, you are perfect.
I'm going to need a lifeline on that one.
Out of time. That is from Love Actually. No? Okay.
Yeah.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
There's like 17 like storylines in that movie.
I know.
Like,
I think this is from the one where the guy is this actually written on a sign? Is that where he's holding up the signs?
Maybe in the end.
So I haven't actually seen all of these movies. I just pulled them. Okay, here's a weird one that I actually don't remember, even though I've seen the movie. Quote number 4. If you're a bird, I'm a bird.
Oh, that's from The Notebook.
Okay, I thought you might know that one. Where does that happen? It doesn't matter.
They're
thumbs
like
up or thumbs
they're
down?
standing on the beach, and she's like awkwardly just like, if you're a bird, say if you're a bird, I'm a bird, and
gosh.
she just like runs and jumps into
I
his
can't
arms.
stand The
And
Notebook. Please give me a
cute
thumbs down on The
swimsuit
Notebook.
she's wearing.
I don't like The Notebook.
I mean, it's just weird. It's just a weird quote. I refuse.
Okay. So speed round. We're just gonna do a few more. Here's Looking at You, Kid.
The Holiday.
Casablanca.
But they reference it in The Holiday.
Oh, that's fair. You have bewitched me body and soul, and I love you. Out of time. Pride and Prejudice.
I need the accent.
How did you not get? I'm not giving you accent. They say when you meet the love of your life, time stops, and it's true. You're not going to get this one.
About Time.
No. Big Fish.
Big Fish. I don't think I've seen that.
You're the first boy I ever kissed, Jake, and I want you to be the last.
Oh, that is from Reese Witherspoon in that movie Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay, that's correct. Where's the one? I had a good one, and now it's gone. Oh, I wanted it to be you. I wanted it to be you so badly.
Oh, You've Got Mail.
Yes, correct. Last one. It would be a privilege to have my heart broken by you.
No clue.
I would not get this one either. I thought you might. Fault in Our Stars. Actually, just one more. So this is the last one. I'll only give one piece of advice to anyone marrying. We're all quite similar in the end. We all get old and tell the same tales too many times, but try and marry someone kind.
I love this movie. It's from About Time, and if you haven't seen it, you need to see it this weekend. It's amazing. It'll change your life.
I actually agree. I'm not a huge fan of romance movies, but About Time was very, very good. It's weird because it's weird to say that this movie, it was about time travel, but it wasn't a science fiction movie. It was
right.
I I mean, it was a romance, like, drama movie.
It was
and
romance, but it was also drama, and it was also just, like, be a better person and appreciate all of the blessings in your life. Like, whenever I start to feel bad about humanity after a long night in the ER, I need to watch that movie because it sets me right again.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone after school today about how fantasy movies that introduce fantastic concepts like time travel are really interesting ways to explore the human condition, because it's like when you think about life from the perspective of like superpowers or time travel or horcruxes or whatever it might be, you're introduced to a concept of humanity that you wouldn't have otherwise thought about. And About Time does that. It's really good. Okay, so now I do have some important questions to ask you, and these are going to kind of build on our last episode about soulmates. But I just want one more time, for those of you who are tuning in live, either by Instagram or YouTube, we are streaming this podcast live. If you would like to ask questions, you can do that by just commenting on the video, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube. We'll have those questions compiled, and then when we get to the end of this section, we don't have a lot to talk about, but when we get to the end of that, I will read through some of your questions. If you have any questions for Jen or for me or anything we're approaching Valentine's Day, so if you have any questions, Jen is a dating expert, so if you have any questions for her.
I don't know about that, but please. I can give advice.
Well, I mean, dating, I guess.
I won the dating game, more or less,
Well, please. Okay. So we're on the eve of Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day, although it started as a religious holiday, really doesn't have a big religious component these days. It's not really about, no one goes to church. You don't really think about St. Valentine and the early Christian church. It's about dating and romance and going out. Or, if you're a fan of Parks and Rec, you have the Galentine's Day for the single ladies who maybe aren't going out on a date. They're spending time together. And the purpose, really building on the last episode, which if you haven't heard the Soulmates episode, I recommend listening to it. We talk a lot on that episode about discernment, and the purpose of dating really is discernment, right? You're trying to get to know someone to decide if this is the one, right? Like, this is the question. Like, is this person the one? Like, are they the one? This mysterious, in quotes, the one. So I guess I'll just start by asking you, Jen, this question, which is the question that drove the Soulmates episode. How do you know if someone is the one, and how do you approach that question?
So I can only speak from, I guess, my personal experience.
Of course.
I knew you were the one when certain things, at least at the time that you and I had started dating, I was in a very just all about me time of my life. I was basically working and playing volleyball, and that was it, and loving every minute that I was on the court. So I was playing drop-in volleyball on Friday nights, tournament on Saturday, tournament on Sunday, league games on Monday night, sometimes Sunday night as well, and then I worked the next 3 days. And then we started dating, and I kind of had to make time to hang out with you as well, which, we were still kind of just figuring out whether or not, we worked well together. And then slowly throughout our dating, I was realizing, you know what? Getting rid of volleyball time is actually worth it if it means I get to hang out with this guy more. I was starting to cut into my me time for we time. And I kind of realized that this was something special.
So would you say the transition from this is just dating, someone that I'm hanging out with, to this might be the one, comes in for you, maybe came in the form of all the other things in my life that I spend time doing aren't as interesting anymore. Yeah. It's kind of that tipping point.
Well, and even, I would say even when I started to realize I would be making sacrifices to even do stuff that you wanted to do that I didn't necessarily want it to do, but I wasn't bothered by it. I wasn't thinking about oh, well, I'm going with Ben to do this, and I don't really want to do that. I could be playing volleyball.
So it was something you didn't want to go to the Bible Museum, the Bible exhibit in the Smithsonian.
No, we never went to the Bible Museum. But for example, like hanging out with, getting to know like your friends and family. These are people who I don't really know yet, and we may not necessarily have like a ton in common, but different adventures with you that were exciting and made you happy also made me happy, even if I didn't have necessarily a whole lot of interest in whatever particular activity we were doing that day.
Right. So as you're dating somebody, which is kind of a long drawn out process of just getting to know them, like getting to know who they are. What would you say, if you had to pick one thing that you would say is the most important thing to learn about a person as you're getting to know them, what would you say that is? The one thing that it would be really important to find out about them, whether it's a way that they act or a way that they think?
I think I would probably say, you need to find out what they put value in. Because shared values really, really impact and are, the foundation of a good relationship. So, for example, if I found out early on that I was dating someone and they put a lot of value in money and expensive cars and too much emphasis on appearance or, how they appeared to others versus putting value in, showing kindness and being generous with others and family members and quality time. That would definitely impact whether or not I continued like that relationship. So having shared values, I think, is very important. And then, of course, going back to like my favorite movie quote ever, you have to pick somebody who's kind.
Kind. Which is really two movies, right?
It is. Have courage and be kind. Yeah, exactly.
So shared values.
So shared values.
Awesome. I am going to remind. We have a bunch of new people who are tuning in. I just want to remind you, if you have any questions you want to ask live, it seems like most of you are coming in on Instagram. If you want to ask questions through Instagram, you can. If you want to go to frogquestions.com and submit a question that way, I can pull those up on my phone as well. So any questions you want to ask Jen, you are welcome to. So shared values, I think, is important. For me, a big thing, and I mentioned this to you, if I were to answer this question, I think a big thing is communication, and specifically communication when it comes to handling disagreements. I'm a big fan of resolving disagreements, because I think the one thing, again, with the About Time quote, it's like we're all going to get old. We're all going to tell these stories too many times over and over. But something that I think if you have to pick one quality for a partner to have stretching for a long time into the future, it would be the ability to peacefully resolve disagreements, because you're always going to have disagreements, and being able to resolve those in a way that is kind and truthful and in a way that speaks truth to the situation. I think that's really important. And you agree?
I agree.
And if I can give you a compliment, Jen, I think that you are a great communicator. And I appreciate that we're able to communicate with each other.
It's very important. Very, very, very important.
Do you have any tips for communication, like tips for being a good communicator, especially in a relationship?
So first and foremost, you have to be honest. Not brutally honest, but you have to be honest. Second of all, communication does not happen in real life the way it happens in movies. And I think there are several situations where we would either come to an argument or disagreement, or I would think or expect you to act a certain way because of something that I saw in a movie. And then whenever we sat down and actually just talked about it, my idea of what to expect was completely off. So being honest, and then just knowing that every relationship is going to be different than the ones you've had in the past, different than the ones you see your friends have, different than the ones that you see on TV. They're just going to be different. And as far as communicating goes, it needs to happen out loud. It should not be merely body language. It should not be merely inside your head, and only a third of that is out loud, because I am guilty of doing that, and things get resolved a lot slower when I'm thinking mostly in my head and only expressing about a third of that out loud. And Ben knows me well enough to this point where if he sees the wheels turning in my head and I'm not actually speaking, he calls me out on it, which then helps me remember, okay, I need to speak my mind out loud so that we can talk about it and figure out a good resolution.
Do you think the letter K is an appropriate response to a question through a text message? I was sorry, that's an off the wall question. I just went on a tirade about that recently. I was just like, K is not an acceptable response to a question.
It depends.
I don't think it depends. K is not communication.
I'm going to the store before coming home. Okay.
Would it kill you to put an O? Okay.
No, unless you're my dad, because he can only respond with a K.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Especially with the ways that you can text now with like swipe or the autofill. It's like how I feel like it's almost more work to write one letter than to write the whole word.
Is just the single K, does that make you as annoyed as a thumbs up emoji?
Yeah, thumbs up emoji. I feel like there could be other meanings in it. No, K is the worst.
K is the worst. Okay.
No, it doesn't get worse than K. You can't give less effort to replying to a text in K. Thumbs up, at least it can mean
I'm on
like
board. Sounds good.
I won my game. Like, thumbs up, you did a good
thumbs
job.
Up.
Okay. You can't be like, oh, I won my volleyball game, and then you took that K.
It's horrible.
Are you kidding me? Okay, so I do have some questions. Now these are let's just wrap up the question. Just once and for all, we're talking about discernment, communication. Once and for all, you've got a lot of people who are going out on Valentine's Day dates tomorrow. What advice would you give to anyone who's maybe going out on a date, maybe with somebody for the first time tomorrow? Which that's high risk, right?
That is high risk.
High risk going out for the first time on Valentine's Day. But do you have any dating advice for the romantics out there?
Dating advice.
And then we'll move on to questions. So if you have any more questions, please submit them. Dating advice.
So Valentine's Day can be very fun, but I guess I would say it's still just a day.
Mm-hmm.
So you may see a lot of hyped up Valentine's Day dates on social media or in the movies or wherever, but it doesn't have to be like all done up and crazy. It could be something simple. I think sometimes social media can sometimes be bad at making everything look picture perfect, and then we almost expect or think that we deserve everything to be picture perfect, and that's not life. Life can sometimes be messy, and messy can still be fun and still be appreciated. So I think when it comes down to a Valentine's Day date, more than the flowers or the cards or the expensive dinner, or if you're over 21, the champagne, more than the gifts and the teddy bears and the chocolates and all of that, it just comes down to spending good quality time with the person who you care about. And the evening, just like all other, date nights, should be about good, honest communication, getting to know that person, and just spending good quality time together without all the fluff.
Awesome.
And as I say that, I am holding on to my necklace, which you got me on our very first Valentine's Day. Just realized that.
So these are some questions that were submitted earlier. I have them in my notes. So someone mentioned that during the process of us getting together, there were many times that you might say God put us in each other's lives, and I kind of ignored it or was not paying attention. So during this whole process, which is actually kind of years in the making, right? We met years before we started dating. Right. So we met during volleyball, and there were other times whether it would be through social media or running into each other at other places, that there were times that I could have noticed you or pursued something and didn't.
And there were times when I tried to get you to notice me.
Right.
And you didn't.
So that's, I think, the root of this question. But the question is, what made you interested in me? That, especially with me being so maybe preoccupied, or the fact that after several times of not reciprocating,
So I would say I very first noticed you because you were at the volleyball house and we played on the same court, and I thought you were attractive and you were tall, and you played volleyball. So like already then I was just like, okay, that's a good start. However, there were a lot of tall, attractive volleyball players. And I didn't really care to date any of them just because they weren't necessarily, I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that they were the classiest.
Okay. So you're saying I was classy.
See, you were a little bit more reserved.
Not a word that I would use to describe myself.
You weren't trash talking people on the court. You seemed to be respectful of the players that were around you. You weren't oogling all the girls around you. Yeah. And then we had a volleyball like costume party for Halloween or something like that. And the next day I remember you saying that you needed to, I couldn't stay late at the party because I had to get up early to go to church, you said to go to mass. I was like, ooh, mass, he's Catholic. Okay. And then you said, oh, and not only that, I'm a youth minister. I was just like, oh my gosh, he goes to mass, he plays volleyball, he's tall, he's cute, and he's a youth minister? Like, that's like primo. Okay, I need to get to know this guy a little bit more.
So I also had sort of akin to this question. This isn't a question, but I was asking for feedback, approaching this interview, asking what are some things that I should ask you. And someone said, this isn't a question for me to ask, but they said they wanted me to tell you things that I like about you.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I didn't really prepare an answer for this, but the fact that I ignored you early on it wasn't anything about you personally. It was more, and I've said this to you before, it was the fact that at the time I was in grad school. So I was in school a lot and I wasn't looking for a relationship. So I was just like, well, you used the verb oogling. Like I wasn't I was single, but I was not, as the kids say these days, looking to mingle. So, okay. So I was, so for me, it was, I noticed you, but it wasn't, I was like, okay, well, if I was looking to date, maybe Jen would be an option, because I knew you were Catholic. I mentioned before, I saw one of the earliest pictures I saw of Jen on Facebook was her on a mission trip doing a medical mission work in a foreign country. And I was just like, oh, well, this is, again, to quote you, primo dating material. But I wasn't looking to date, I wasn't looking for a girlfriend. So I think once we started getting to know each other, I think what struck me about you, or what made me interested in continuing to get to know you, was definitely, and I hate to keep coming back to this word, but you are kind and you are a good communicator. The times early on that we would miscommunicate or have maybe not disagreements, but like we would have miscommunications, you handled those very well. I saw qualities in you that I thought would make you a good mom, and I was right. You are a good mom. Yeah, so there you go. That's what I saw in Jen. So somebody asked, do you guys still play in the same volleyball place? Which I'm assuming, again, is a reference to the fact that Jen and I played at the volleyball house down in Elkridge. That's where we first met at the volleyball house, right? That wasn't Jessup. So yeah, at the volleyball house down in Elkridge was where we first met playing volleyball together. And not recently.
No, not currently. We've been playing more volleyball at Mercy High School volleyball gym. Basically.
We coach volleyball at Mercy. So we're semi-retired. We're more into coaching now. Although
we're looking to make a comeback.
Yeah, we'll make a comeback at some point. But no, we're not actively playing in any leagues for ourselves. We're just interested in coaching. So one more time for all of you just joining us, if you are posting questions on Instagram, I'm just going to look at what we have here. So yeah, we've got a bunch of people just joined. So if you're interested in asking any questions to Jen while I have her here, you are welcome to. Okay. Someone asked, what is your favorite kind of bean and how do you prepare them? We can just skip that one.
Dark pinto beans, Cuban style.
You don't have to answer questions like that.
I'm a guest.
That's fair. You are the guest. So somebody asked, so where does love come from? I'm not totally sure how to take that question. Where does love come from? And then somebody asked, how do you find love? But I guess those are similar questions. Well, I mean, the question, where does love come from? I think love, an interesting thing, if I can answer this question first, is that love is a really overused word in the English language because we have too many meanings for it. And so in one sense, you could say love, or the feeling of falling in love, comes from chemicals in your brain that make you silly. On the other hand, on a deeper level of love, I think love comes from choice, right? It's like the choice to love, to choose to love somebody, accepting them flaws and all. So where does it come? It comes from a lot of places. Okay, people are asking for your favorite song.
My favorite song?
Yeah. I don't know that a lot of these questions are ridiculous. Yeah, what's your favorite song?
Probably the one that you wrote for me.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's move on. We don't need to talk about this. Okay, so looks like more of you are asking questions. If you have any last minute questions, you can submit them now. I'm out of things I wanted to talk about, but I did buy something for this occasion because I knew at some point I was going to interview you about soulmates and love and that sort of stuff. And I think you're a good communicator, and we agree that communication is a really important thing to have in a relationship. And so are you willing to play a high risk game live?
Yes.
On Frog Questions?
Oh my goodness.
So this is...
Here we go.
I have not read these. This is a product that I was not paid to advertise called 88 Great Conversation Starters for Husbands and Wives. I bought it on Amazon. And this is I haven't read these, but a list of questions.
Oh boy.
And so in lieu of, if anyone had any last minute questions, you can ask them. Otherwise, we're going to go to these cards. We're going to choose a card. Do you want me to choose a card to ask you, or do you want to choose a card and ask me? We'll each take a card. You can choose from anywhere in the deck. And I don't know what they say either. So this is very high risk. And these are the times when you say, like, okay, well, I have a podcast and there's some definite merits to pre-recording things, because when you do things live, you never know what's going to happen. Do you need help there?
I got one.
Okay.
So that I read it to you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
It has my favorite
I'm just checking to see if anyone
bottom.
else is asking questions.
Okay.
People are asking questions, but they're dumb.
What are they?
Aw.
Oh. What else? That's not a question.
Somebody said cute. I'm not going to read every word that people are posting. If you have a question, ask a question. Otherwise, go ahead.
When you're feeling stressed, what helps you to relax and unwind the most? What gives you peace of mind? I already know the answer to this question.
Do you? Because I don't.
Yeah. When you're feeling stressed, you like to come downstairs,
Oh.
lay on the
that's
basement floor, and watch me bubble
True. That's true.
while listening to a metronome play.
Yeah, I do really like metronomes. Like, can you reach that metronome?
Like from sitting here?
No, you can stand up. But you brought up the metronome, so now you have to bring it down. This is a metronome. Jen bought me this metronome, and this is, to me, is the most relaxing sound, and Jen doesn't agree.
I don't agree. Nope.
Okay.
Doesn't
so
do
we can
anything
stop.
for me.
But to me, that is a very relaxing sound. So I do like I like to listen to metronome to unwind. Okay, so I'm now choosing a card for you. Again, last chance if you want to ask a question. Otherwise, we're going to end this episode early. To you, Jen, what motivates you to work hard and be your best? And this is a two-parter. And the second part is, what discourages you and slows you down? First part, what motivates you to work hard and be your best?
I don't even know if I know. It's just something like inside me. Like it's I don't know.
No answer.
There's something inside me that wants me to be a good person.
Like when you're okay. So like I made this poster for this video, and I know you haven't said anything about this, but I know it bothers you that my handwriting is haphazard and like thrown
very
together.
much so.
And I know if you had like an extra 5 minutes, you would have taken this poster and made it look pretty.
I would have.
You have to make everything look pretty. So where does that come from?
I don't know. I swear it's in my DNA.
It's like it's just the specific OCD that applies only to like crafting projects.
Yes, it is.
Is there anything? Well, I mean, is there anything that the second part was like? What's makes you lose motivation or slows you down? Is that just? Do you ever get frustrated with projects and want to give them up?
I do. It once took me 8 months to make a baby mobile for our friend because I was constantly beaten by the craft until I finally overcame it. However, the child was then 6 months old when I had the project finished.
There you go.
So, yeah.
All right, last question, and then this is a pretty short episode. We're gonna end it around 40 minutes. But so if you could only take 5 things with you to a desert island, what would they be? We'll both answer this one.
Island?
Desert island. My answer is the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. No, that's not true.
I would take a life straw.
Good. Although I don't think these questions are usually intended to focus on like survival, but I mean, I applaud your initiative. You don't have to answer it. I just thought it was a funny question to end on. Unless you have more. Do you have more?
Well, I'm trying to decide.
A life straw and the first 4 Harry Potter books.
Do I take Lily on the desert island, or do I leave her in civilization so she can grow up with all the amenities of like a first world country? I don't know.
That's true.
I kind of want to take her with me, but she's not fully immunized yet.
Okay. I think you're overthinking the premise of desert island questions.
Desert island.
Okay. So we're gonna conclude our episode here. Let's
Wait,
check one more
not
time,
yet.
see if anyone has.
You have to
go ahead.
answer the question now.
Oh.
So you dodged the question whenever you did the episode with Caitlin, and then you turned it on me.
Oh, sure.
About soulmates, but now you have to answer.
I love other people asking other people
no,
questions.
now you
and
have to
dodging
answer the
them myself.
soulmate question.
Sure. So.
Do you believe in soulmates? Part 1, and then part 2 is how did you know that I was the one?
Okay, fine. Bet. So I believe in soulmates. Soulmates it's tricky because we all define the word differently. Mm-hmm. So when you say, do you believe in soulmates? You're asking me, do I believe in soulmates the way that you define the word soulmates? That's whenever anyone asks a question like that, they're presuming the definition is universal, and it's not. Like some people have their idea of soulmates is platonic. Like you can say like my best friend is my soulmate. Some people mean it romantically, and I think we're usually talking about it romantically. I do not believe in soulmates the way that stupid Nicholas Sparks believes in soulmates. The Notebook is about soulmates, and I think it's toxic, the idea that he has for soulmates in that movie. I believe in soulmates in the sense that just like everything else, God has an idea for what is best for our lives and what will make us feel the most fulfilled. And if we follow God's suggestions, we're sort of like, people are woven into our lives that are well suited for us, right? So just like you were sort of, I keep running into you over and over, and in the end, I keep ignoring all these signs, and in the end, I get hit by a truck because that's how God is communicating to me, like, you're ignoring the signs. But even at that point, this is not God taking away my free will or forcing my hand, because at the end of the day, I still have to choose it because I have free will. So even after being hit by the truck, I could have kept ignoring it, all the way to the point of, we could have not ended up together if I kept choosing that, right? So like, it is still your choice. But I believe that there are people who you are very suited to complement, and that God knows you'll be most fulfilled and joyful once you're married to them. So I believe it in that sense. What I don't like about the Nicholas Sparks soulmates, just to defend my position here, Rachel McAdams in this movie ends up actually married or engaged to her. She was engaged to another guy. And then she leaves him. Do they actually get married? Or are they just...
No.
They're just engaged.
They're just engaged.
But she's like living her life, and she's like engaged to this guy, but then she just like dumps him in a second to be with her, like, quote unquote soulmate. And this is somebody who we're sort of just being told by the narrative that these people are meant to be together, despite the fact that they aren't really developing a relationship. Like, he's writing her letters, but she's not getting the letters. And so there's no relationship development here. It's just the idea that we're meant to be together. We're soulmates. This is, quote unquote, true love. And it doesn't matter how many other people's lives we destroy in the process. Love is going to slam us together. And I don't like that idea at all. I think it ignores like free will. And it also says, like, it's okay to damage other people's relationships, or to date somebody but then like cheat on them or break up with them the second your soulmate comes back into your life. I think that's a really horrible way to think about it. But yes, I believe that there's somebody that we're intended to be with. Okay.
No, and then part 2 of that question was, how did you know that I was the one?
How did I know that you were the one? I mean, this is through the process of discernment. You have a whole bunch of signs. Like, I had plenty of signs that you were the one, and I ignored them all. And then we end up dating. And I think it's through like getting to know you and realizing that you were compatible to me in a lot of, I mean, I didn't have a ton of dating experience, but just everything that from my perspective approaching relationships, everything that was important to me in a relationship, the fact that you were kind, that I thought you would be a good mom, like all of those things. As I got to know you, I realized, like, this is a really good person, and not just a good person, but a person who is good for me, like compatible for me. And also, probably the most important thing is you made me want to be better, which is another thing. If you're dating somebody and they don't challenge you to be a better person, they just sort of like make you feel like you're fine the way you are. I mean, that's a problem. So you challenged me to be a better person, and that was something. You challenged me to be a better person. You were a good communicator, and we were able to work through difficulties together. And that, to me, it was just like, okay, that's the kind of person that you want to marry. So that. Okay. So retweet. Interesting perspective. They met at volleyball. Soulmate, blah, blah, blah. These are not questions. Hey, Ms. Mursky. My dad is Filipino and a PA. So, there you go.
So there you go.
That's from, Camille.Valdez. So you have something in common. Somebody said this is goals. Someone keeps asking if I'm going to be at Mercy next year. Yes, I'm going to be at Mercy next year. I don't understand how that's related to what we're doing. But yeah. Okay. In the absence of any other real questions, yeah, we're going to conclude here. Did you have anything you wanted to say in closing? Any last minute advice you want to give anyone we're heading into Valentine's Day? Any closing words? Have courage and be kind.
Have courage and be kind. That's always a good one to end on. And also, I would say a lot of people just sometimes can get wrapped up in Valentine's Day and they just want to date somebody just to be dating somebody on Valentine's Day. And
Bad news bears.
That's just a waste of time, girls. Just a waste of time. And guys, girls and guys, there are way more beneficial things you can do.
Galentine's Day.
Yeah, exactly. Galentine's Day.
Board game night.
Board game night. I don't know. Just
the Bible exhibit at the Smithsonian.
Well, date someone who you would want to marry.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
don't create drama for yourself.
Don't create drama for yourself. And don't get hung up on it being Valentine's Day and not having a date, because that was the majority of my life, was not having a date on Valentine's Day. So yeah.
Okay. Well, this concludes our